What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Dana White threatens to leave UFC for Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has long defended UFC CEO Dana White, going so far as to make it clear that he has a provision in his contract that allows him to part ways with the UFC in the event that Dana White leaves the promotion. After years spent working together, that loyalty has become a two-way street. In 2022, when the longtime UFC commentator was fielding heavy criticism as a result of a compilation that was made showing him using a racial slur, Endeavor considered parting ways with Rogan. According to Dana White, who spoke on a recent episode of Lex Fridman's podcast, that wasn't going to be the case. As Dana confirmed, he threatened to resign over the promotion's attempt to fire Rogan, making it clear that he and Joe Rogan are a package deal.
Anybody who is with me, has been with me, knows. When you're with me, you're with me. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. I'm not one of these guys that is going to roll over, and it's just never. None of that type of stuff is ever going to happen while I'm here. Joe Rogan has been very loyal to me, and I am very loyal to Joe Rogan.
From the sounds of things, Endeavor backed off, with Rogan continuing his usual workload of US-based pay-per-view cards. Next up, let's take a look at Sean O'Malley reveals next UFC fight. After his UFC 299 fight with Chito Vera, Sugar Sean O'Malley indicated during his post-fight Octagon interview that in an ideal world, he would like to face off with Ilia Topuria next. Ultimately, however, in the wake of the fight, O'Malley made it clear that he would be open to defending his title against bantamweight #1 contender Merab Dvalishvili. During a recent episode of the Timbo Sugar Show, O'Malley opened up on the bantamweight title picture.
I mean, Merab's next. Merab is next. Your wish is granted. A lot of people said I'm ducking him. I just really am not ducking that little dude. I like the fight for me. There's multiple ways to win. I'm excited about the fight now, finally. I was never ducking him. I was just never excited to fight him. He's just such a, I don't know, now is it the right time? Just like the Cheeto rematch. Like the time will come to where it's the right time to fight certain people. Merab's next. And careful what you wish for, buddy.
During a recent episode of the MMA Hour, Renato Moicano also gave his thoughts on the situation, sharing his prediction for the bout.
No, I don't think he beats Merab. Stylistically, right? We never know. He got Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling is a good grappler, a tall fighter for 35. He is heavy, but at the same time, the pressure that Merab has. But at the same time, Cejudo got Merab one time, right? Marlon Moraes, all the fighters got the left hook. So the left hook is going to be over there. But I think the pressure of Merab is going to be too much.
While the fight seems to be next up, so far there's been no word from the UFC as to when it may take place. Next up, let's take a look at Max Holloway reveals the truth on Justin Gaethje. At UFC 300, Max Holloway will step into the octagon to compete against Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt. With Ilia Topuria now sitting atop the featherweight division, however, many have wondered whether he made a mistake accepting the fight with Gaethje, rather than waiting to see how the UFC 298 bout between Alexander Volkanovski and Topuria playing out. The way Holloway sees things, however, if you don't remain active in the UFC, the sport passes you by. During a recent video for his YouTube channel, Holloway opened up on the situation.
I always thought that if Topuria won, no matter what, I still would be waiting because Volk would get a direct rematch. And then even with the Gaethje situation, it's like who knew that Charles was going to get a bad cut, you know, and Islam couldn't turn around and fight, you know. If you wait in this sport, the sport goes by you, and it goes by you quick. So at the end of the day, all you can do is stay busy, you know. I am blessed with the opportunity to be in this situation with Justin Gaethje.
So far, it's remained unclear when a Topuria versus Volkanovski rematch may happen. However, from the sounds of things, Volk is planning to take his time before returning to action. With a win at UFC 300, the expectation is that Holloway will get a crack at the featherweight title. Next, let's take a look at UFC Fight Updates. On the heels of this past weekend's UFC Fight Night Hebus vs Namajunas card, let's take a look at today's UFC Fight Updates, starting with 2 fights added to an unnamed UFC event scheduled for May 18th, where Adrian Yanez will face off with Vinicius Salvador, and Edson Barboza will face off with Lerone Murphy. In the case of the bantamweight bout between Yanez and Salvador, the bout will see Yanez look to snap a 2-fight skid that most recently saw him defeated by Jonathan Martinez back in October. On the flip side, Salvador will be looking to snap a 2-fight skid of his own. In the case of the featherweight bout between Barboza and Murphy, the fight will see Edson Barboza look to extend a 2-fight win streak that saw him go undefeated throughout 2023. most recently defeating Sodiq Yusuff. While on the flip side, Murphy will be looking to extend his unbeaten professional record after picking up back-to-back wins of his own in 2023. Last but certainly not least in the way of fight updates, Cody Durden will face off with Carlos Hernandez in a flyweight bout that will see Durden look to bounce back after a loss to Tagir Ulanbekov back in December. While on the flip side, Hernandez will be looking to bounce back from a loss to Tatsuro Taira late last year. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler leaked? Recently, at the premiere of Roadhouse, Conor McGregor indicated that he and Michael Chandler will in fact be fighting this summer. Around the same time, however, Dana White indicated on the Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo Pound for Pound podcast that with McGregor's press duties now fulfilled for his first major Hollywood role, the two sides could now begin finalizing the details of the Irish star's return. The conflicting stories, with McGregor indicating that the fight would take place this summer and White failing to confirm the timeline, left many fans wondering about the true status of the fight. In a recent Instagram video, UFC flyweight Cody Durden may have let the official date and event number for McGregor's return slip while announcing his previously mentioned fight with Carlos Hernandez.
What's up, fight fans? I'm back in the octagon June 29th versus Carlos Hernandez. UFC 303, Michael Chandler versus the notorious Conor McGregor. Let's go, baby.
Of course, the UFC has yet to announce a headliner for the UFC 303 event on June 29th. However, the timeline would line up with McGregor's previous announcement indicating that he and Chandler would throw down at the event. From the sounds of things, the MMA community is torn on whether Durden left major news slip or whether he was simply basing his words off the announcement McGregor had previously made. So far, it's been radio silence from the UFC on the matter. Next, let's take a look at Paddy Pimblett gets disrespected in interview. Since making his triumphant return to the octagon last year after undergoing ankle surgery, Paddy Pimblett has continued to indicate that the most likely timeline for his next bout would see him return this summer, after he and his wife welcome newborn twins in April, and also after he recovers from shoulder injuries sustained in preparation for his UFC 296 fight with Tony Ferguson. In the meantime, the baddie has seemingly laid the groundwork for a fight between he and Renato Moicano when he returns. Following an online back and forth between the pair, Ariel Helwani spoke about the situation with Money Moicano on the MMA Hour this week.
He seems to be a very tough guy when people have fight schedule, right? Because he all the time, when I got the fight and then he make a video calling me out, if the video was 2 weeks before, 100% I would accept to fight him. But don't worry, Paddy Pimblett, you be careful what you wish for. And if you wish and if you want to fight Moicano, I'm going to fuck you up, my brother, and I'm going to steal your money. Doesn't matter if it's England, in Brazil, Las Vegas, you in fucking trouble, my brother.
Of course, before a fight between the two can get scheduled, first Moicano has to make it through his UFC 300 fight with Jalen Turner. Next, let's take a look at Jiri Prochazka calls out Alex Pereira. At UFC 300, Jiri Prochazka will look to get back in the win column against Alexander Rakic after being knocked out by Alex Pereira at UFC 295. Of course, in the main event, Pereira will look to pick up his first successful title defense against Jamal Hill, before then pursuing his goal for shortest turnaround between successful title defenses. Ahead of the historic event, the Czech Samurai is eager to not only get back in the win column, but also pursue another fight with the Glory Kickboxing Hall of Famer. During a recent appearance on Full Violence, Prochazka explained that he believes he's still a better fighter than the light heavyweight champ, despite the finish.
Yes, I want to fight. Yeah, I want to, not because revenge or whatever, but because I believe I'm better. I'm better, and till that one mistake, what I did in the fight, that fight was mine. And I believe that I am able to win that fight and win the belt and making the next steps.
Of course, should Pereira make it through his UFC 300 main event scrap with Jamal Hill, the expectation is that he will next look to defend the belt against Magomed Ankalaev after his January win over Johnny Walker. Whether or not an impressive win over Alexander Rakic allows Jiri Prochazka to cut the line and stake his claim to a rematch with the champ at UFC 301 remains to be seen. Khamzat Chimaev's next fight will be announced soon, according to his manager, Majdi Shamas. Majdi posted to his Instagram story saying there will be news soon with Khamzat. Knowing that he won't fight at UFC 300, is it possible to see Khamzat step into the octagon for UFC 301? Dana White suspends UFC fighter Hussein Askabov for 2 years. He tested positive for Dianabol, which is anabolic steroid and banned in the UFC. Combat Sports Anti-Doping revealed his ineligibility began February 28th and will last until 2026. Top comments. Khamzat is beatable, and he's not this indestructible dude. The last couple of his fights have shown that he's beatable. Igor Severino definitely went too far, like seriously, what was he thinking? Great response by Sanko. Respect for keeping her cool and coming with receipts. I'll admit I was a little skeptical about a woman being a UFC commentator at first, but Laura Sanko is the real deal, and her commentary is timely and completely on point. She's a wonderful addition to the UFC team, and I enjoy it when she comes up on the card. Dustin must have forgot about Justin. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.